Assalamualaikum and good day for everyone. First, thank you to the organizer of iWest 2026 for the opportunity to present. My name is Siti Fazilah Hamid from the Faculty of Business and Management, Universiti Teknologi Mara. Today, I will be presenting my research title, Technological Determinants of AI Adoptions Among SMEs in the Klang Valley, Malaysia. Before I begin, here is an overview of my presentations. There are 8 sessions. First is background and problem statement, followed by research objective, followed by literature review, followed by conceptual framework, research methodology, results, discussions, and finally, conclusions and implications. Let me start with the background. Small and medium enterprises are the backbone of the Malaysian's economy. They make up around 96.1% of all business establishments and contribute close to 38.4% of gross domestic product. So any technology capable of improving how these organizations operate has enormous national significance. Now with that, AI is widely positioned as exactly that kind of the technology, which is AI is very strategy enabled that could let resource constrained SMEs to compete with much larger organizations. However, despite this increasing of AI, the adoptions level for SMEs still remains low. Only around 30% of Malaysian firms report having adopted AI in any form. Based on this background, the study was guided by 5 research objectives, shown here as from research objective 1 until research objective 5. The first four map directly onto the 4 technological factors, namely relative advantage, complexity, compatibility, and data readiness. Meanwhile, for fifth objective is to describe the overall level of AI adoptions and importantly, to examine the intentions varies by sectors and the organization that had prior experience using AI. These 4 constructs are drawn from the Technology Organization Environment or TOE framework. Specifically, is technological dimensions, which is the most strategically grounded lens for the organization's level adoptions. For relative advantage, it refers to the degree to which AI is perceived as improving on current methods. Across the previous literature, this is consistently one of the strongest predictors of adoptions AI in Malaysian studies. Complexity captures the perceived difficulty of learning and using AI tools. This is repeatedly identified as one of the most critical adoption barriers. The barrier frame study report that SMEs is generally find the technology is hard to work with. Compatibility is the fit between AI and firm existing workflows and systems. The evidence here is made. Some study find it strongly significant. Meanwhile, some study found that weak or even negative effects once relative advantage is accounted for. And for data readiness and AI-specific extensions of the classic TOE captures whether organizations' data and infrastructure are actually ready to support AI tools. Limited data infrastructure is widely and repeatedly persistent as the barrier for SME. For conceptual framework, there are 4 technological factors on the left and AI adoption intentions, and on the right are and independently using descriptive statistics. Moving on research methodology, This study used a quantitative, descriptive, cross-sectional survey design. The population was SME owner, managers, and senior decision makers of organizations registered with SME Corporations Malaysia and operating within the Klang Valley. And the sample size was 120 respondents. The instrument used 5 points Likert scale with 4 items per construct adapted from previously validated TOE instruments in the literature. So all data were analyzed using IBM SPSS statistics through frequency and percentage distributions, Cronbach alpha for reliability, means and standard deviations for each construct, mean level interpretation bands, and also cross tabulation. Turning to the results, the sample of 120 organizations was predominantly from manufacturing at 38.3%, followed by services and retail or wholesale with constructions, the smallest group at 8.3%. By gender, 58.3% of respondents were male, and by prior experience, use AI is 68.3%. Whether a chatbot, analytic platforms, or a generative AI tools. Most of respondents were owners or founders at 42.5%, and looking at the years in operation chart on the right, the majority of organizations had been established for 3 years or more, suggesting that there are not brand new startups or organizations, but the organization with real operating history. Here is the core descriptive result for the study. First, on reliability, all 5 constructs were measured with strong internal consistency, with Cronbach alpha ranging from 0.824 to 0.861, comfortably above the 0.7 for threshold typically required. And then for relative advantage, score 3.83 and complexity score 3.86, which are under height band. This is something very important, shows that it's very clearly that SMEs is really perceive AI as the benefits. However, at the same time, they found that difficult to learn and also to integrate. On compatibility at 3.46 and data readiness at 2.98, the lowest score from the all 5 constructs. Overall, AI adoption score 3.48, also moderate, keep between high and also moderate rated factors. Breaking down to under adoption extensions, only 4.2% of organizations shows low adoptions, which is small minority. And then the majority is 53.3% in moderate, means that interested, and substantial 42.5% already shows high adoptions for AI. So as the overall is the adoptions for the organization is the moderate. And then for the sectors, retail or wholesale, service and constructions show fairly similar, comparatively high adoptions, around 50%. Meanwhile, manufacturing, by contrast, moderate, around 65%, and lower high proportions of 28%. The findings on the right shows organization with prior AI use shows more polarized patterns than organizations without prior experienced AI. So it shows that 47% and then low band at 11% compared to the organization have never used AI. Prior experience appears to sharpen opinions rather than uniformly build confidence. Some organizations convince after try AI, some organizations take the precautious actions. For the discussions, first, awareness is not the barrier. Relative advantage is already rated high. SMEs already recognize what AI can do for them. This means generate awareness campaigns, tell SMEs AI can help the business. Second, complexity is the binding constraints. The fact that complexity is also rated high, sitting right alongside relative advantage, tells the implementation's difficulty. And that perhaps no lack of interest is the real obstacle standing between SME and also their adoptions. That data readiness is the weak link, is the lowest rated factors overall because of the limitations of adoptions. And then the fourth is the prior AI use shows more polarized adoptions compared to the no AI use. So it suggests that the quality of the organization that use experience may matter on how they will adapt the AI in their business. So for the implications, for the practical implications is for AI vendors, they can simplify onboarding and integrations and demonstrate advantage through generic marketing for SMEs. For policymakers, for let's say SME corporations, Malaysia, MDE, and similar agency, the priority should shift from generic AI awareness campaign toward data infrastructure and readiness support, since that is the weakest rated factors in this study. For SME owners themselves, this research offers them a technology readiness baseline they can use to benchmark their own organization before commit any AI investment decisions. And for the limitations, this study is using only cross-sectional, descriptive only. So the findings do not establish causal relationships. So in the future, research should extend this into the organizational and environmental dimensions of the OE framework. And then can use inferential modeling to see the relationship for the research. All right, that's all for my presentations. Thank you very much for your attention.